Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. So in today's video I'll be talking to you about my current makeup favorites. I've got about 8 products to talk to you about, and most of those products I'm going to mention are something I've used for quite some time, and these are what I've been pretty much constantly having in my makeup routine. And you know, of course, I buy new things and I do switch up things here and there, but these things pretty much stayed constant in my makeup routine. So the first mention is gonna go to a Charlotte Tilbury Lip Cheat lip liner in the shade Love Trap. I got this guy about a month ago when she added more shades, and I've been using it pretty much non-stop. I think the lip liner is as long, and I've pretty much used quite a bit, like in a month. I think it's quite a bit, so I've been using it, as I've mentioned, pretty much every day. And as you can see, my lips are not massively huge. I do like to overline, and this shade is a bit darker than my natural lip color, which when it comes to overlining my lips, it's not as obvious. Now I've got my lips overlined, which is really good. They are extremely long lasting as well, those lip liners. And the shade, which as I said is Love Trap, that's how it looks. Next thing from the in the lip department is the Maybelline New York Superstay Matte Ling Liquid Lipstick. Now this one, especially in shade 65, because I've got two, this one is like a perfect pink nude, and wow, these are so long lasting, like very long lasting. And I think this is one of the most long-lasting drugstore lipsticks I've ever used. I've been using this lipstick pretty much every day, and with that lip liner I just shown you, it's such a perfect combination. But what I want to tell you about these are of course liquid lipsticks, so yes, there are there's a bit tackiness to it, but they still are slightly drying, and they can settle in your lip line. So this is something to keep in mind, because you know, and 90% of liquid lipsticks do that. If you want a less expensive liquid lipstick, these are great. I think one of the best on the market in terms of drugstore. And as I said, the shade I've got is 65 Seductress, and that's how it looks. So I'm now going to I'm not going to move in anywhere. Move on to something a bit maybe more boring. Well, I think it's a bit more boring. And let me talk about the concealer. And the one I've got with me is the MAC Pro Longwear Concealer. I feel like nobody really talks about this anymore here on YouTube. I feel like it's been talked about a lot back in the day, like old times of, you know, old good times of YouTube. And I just forgot how good it is. So I've decided to repurchase it because I have been trying so many concealers, but there's like, most of them I find really drying underneath my eyes. They settle in my eye, like in my line in my eyes. They just don't look as good. And I kind of remember I really liked this. So a few months ago I repurchased it, and I like the coverage that gives me, because I have really dark under eyes. If you've ever seen me doing any first impressions on foundations, like you can see how dark my under eyes are. So this gives me a good coverage. It's not too thick. It is, of course, because it gives you coverage, there's gonna be a bit of thickness to it, but it's not overly thick, so it doesn't settle in my fine lines, and it is so good. And the shade I am in is in NW15, and I don't think anything will replace this concealer for me, because I've tried so many, and this is such an oldie but a goodie. And the second thing in terms of eyes is the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder in Ethereal Light. Now, as you can see, I've hit the pan on it. I bought this powder, wow, sometime last year. And if you've watched one of my most recent Get Ready With Me, I kind of moaned about the fact whatever powder I used to set whatever powder I used to set my under eyes with, it kind of just brings the darkness. And it's not about the shade being bad, it's about, I don't know, it's just like the powders tend to take all that luminosity and this coverage away. And this doesn't do it, especially doesn't do it combining with this concealer. And I've just used it so much because, as you can see, I've hit the pan on it. Like, it is just so smooth, so fine milled, and also it really brightens my eyes, not to the point that they look white, but it just gives me a bit of brightness. So, and I'm actually afraid when it comes to a bit warmer months, when I've got a bit more tan, this is gonna be a bit too light for me, so I'll probably have to repurchase a bit darker shade. But I have finally found a perfect duo for me. I mean, as I said, I've bought this ages ago and I haven't used it because I think I was kind of put off by the shade, but in the winter months I started using it again, and this just, I think it's a perfect thing. And I feel like if you find a perfect concealer, a perfect powder, that's just the best thing ever. I feel like best thing ever forever. I don't know what I'm saying. I had too much coffee. Too much coffee. So I want to mention to you blush, and this is pretty much the only blush I've been wearing since I bought it in, I think, December, and it is the Ciate blush. I'm not quite sure what the exact name are of these, but that's how the packaging looks like. It's a cute, beautiful packaging, and I don't think these are being talked on YouTube as much as I feel they should be. And the shade I've got is Summer Love, and I mean, it depends, of course. If you like a glowy blushes, these are the way to go, and of course I love anything glowy. So the shade I've got is Summer Love, and they've got just a perfect rate of pigmentation. They're not overly pigmented, but at the same time they're not like no pigmentation at all. So they're just so nice, and as I said, anything with glowy on it, I have to get my hands on, like, just have to get my hands on. So that's how this one looks like, and as I've mentioned, I've been wearing them pretty much since I've bought it back in December. But if I have not been wearing this guy as a blush, I have probably been wearing this as a bronzer. Now, this is a Too Faced Chocolate Soleil medium slash deep matte bronzer, and this is like a little kind of sample, little smaller version of the big one. I've got it like in the gift set, and I think I bought this from Sephora like probably a year and a half ago, or even longer than that. It must have been about good 2 years, I would think. And as you can see, the packaging is all beaten up, and I love it. Even though it's a medium shade and I'm quite pale, pigmentation is really good, so you really just need a bit, but it just goes really well with my skin tone. As I mentioned, as you can see probably in there, I am a quite pale person, and this just, even though it's a medium shade, it works really good for me. I've got quite dry skin and it sits really well on my skin as well. I just want to mention two products I've been using for contouring, and one of them is high-end, one of them is a drugstore product. So I think I'll start with the drugstore, and it is the Maybelline Master Contour Shape Duo Stick, and that's how it looks like. And the shade I've got is in shade Light, and you can probably see how much I don't never really use this side of the stick. I just always use the contour one, and how much I've used of it, and this is like my second one already. I'm a pale person, and this is a perfect tone for contouring for myself. It blends amazingly. I usually just kind of use like a Real Techniques buffing brush, buff the brush into it, and then just kind of buff the product onto my skin. Blends beautifully, and as I said, the shade is just so good, and it is a drugstore product, and do I have to say more? And the second contour product I've been using, it's also a kind of a creamy product, and it's the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Contour Wand. And when I first bought it some time ago, I wasn't really impressed with it. There's not a lot of product in it in my eyes. There is like only 12 ml, and I think that costs like £28. But by now, I think you know I do really like Charlotte Tilbury stuff, especially makeup products. So I did really want to give it a go. as I said, I wasn't impressed at first, and the shade, even though it's meant for fair medium, when I swatched it, it seemed to be a bit too dark. But of course I thought, you know what, I want to give it a go, so you can see what, look, seems a bit on the warm side. And what I did, I do exactly the same thing. I put a bit on the brush and then I use it on my face, and I was actually blown away how well this blends, because this has more of a, it's not as creamy as the Maybelline stick. It's more of a it's got like a very thin formula. I was a bit unsure how this is gonna blend on my skin, but it blended beautifully. And because the shade is a bit darker, and I just don't feel like you need a lot of this, like literally one dab and then off you go, and you're done. So even it's a small amount of product, I like it. I like how it just looks good. It really does look good. No lines, blends beautifully. And the final product of this video is the Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector in the shade Moonstone. I know these were talked about here on YouTube like ages ago already, I think, but I actually picked this guy up last summer. Don't know if you can see. Last summer, and there's a bit of dent in it already. It's got a bit of warmth to it. It's very finely milled, and it just sits and looks, kind of complements my pale skin really well, and it's not too dark. I find, unfortunately, because I'm, again, as I've said about a million times in this video, I'm very pale, and I have to be careful what highlighters I use. They have to be really light, and this just, even though there's a bit more pitchiness to it, a bit more color to it, it just doesn't look bad on me. It doesn't look, this is what I'm wearing on right now, and as you can see, I think it looks pretty good. So let me just swatch it for you. Running out of hand. I don't know if you can see this. I don't think you can. Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. I'm just gonna do it here. Oh, sorry, such a fail. I mean, you can see it on my face, hopefully. It gives me a really good amount of glow. That was, as I said, that was the last product of this video. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this quick, my favorite kind of video. And just tell me down below what is your favorite product that you've been using pretty much since the beginning of the time and you can't put it down. Yeah. And hopefully I'll see you in my next video, so take care.